You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts, but there's only one where the horns are always down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Horns Down Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Another episode of the Horns Down Podcast. I got my friend with me. I got the recruiting expert, analyst, guru, the recruiting guy. I don't know, etc., right? We got Mr. Chris Mason from Sooners 360. All that info is in the bio for sure. But gotta say, one, what's up, Mr. Mason? Thank you for coming on the show again. And then second of all, tell everybody where they can find all your content and talk about your Patreon and all the rest of the stuff that they can subscribe to and everything that you got going.
So first, they can find my YouTube content, obviously on YouTube. They just need to search for Sooners 360 and subscribe to that channel. I'm doing recruit commit profiles, giving you a chance to look at some video, talk about the players individually. I'm also posting all of my podcasts there now. They can also find me on their podcast platform of choice with the Sooners 360 Recruiting Podcast. And finally, they can find my written content at patreon.com/Sooners360-817.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, like I said, go into the bio, whatever, down below, and go ahead and click all that stuff. Go to those links or whatever. Follow us on X as well. It's all in the bio for you guys to find that. Definitely go and find all the content that Chris puts up, simply because it's the facts. No fluff, just simple facts, right? So, in a world where coaches can't explain simple DUI things or whatever the case may be, at I don't know. Regardless, though, we're here to talk some football today, and we're here to talk about recruiting or whatnot. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into the first topic that I know a lot of OU fans are wondering about. What happened? How did it go left? We're talking about no other than Lamont Rogers, who we all thought was going to commit to OU on last Saturday, but committed to Missouri. So, Chris, I'll pass it to you and let you go ahead and just go. Kind of explain to us or walk us through it. Was it just NIL or was it something else?
I think folks around Rogers wanted him in Norman, and I think Lamont himself wanted to be at Missouri. And I think NIL was probably even or less of a factor, and I think he simply wanted to be at Missouri for whatever reasons he has. So I don't think if you watched the video, I don't think his mom was particularly happy with the Missouri choice. She got on board a little bit, but she didn't look like overjoyed at the beginning. I think some of the folks around Rogers feel like Bill is probably the best developer for him. But I think I think he felt more comfortable at Missouri for whatever reason that might be, and he was saying OU to, numerous websites were getting information that he was going to choose OU, and then Wednesday Texas came in with a big package because they're starting to get a little weirded out about the Fasusi recruiting, and we can get to that next as our next topic.
Yeah, that is the next topic. I just feel like talking to you about certain things, won't disclose all the stuff that we talked about, but really felt like what you said really hit home, right? About, hey, the kid's a very talented kid, has a high upside, but you think that he wants to go to OU to be coached by Beaton so he can actually refine all of his mechanics and obviously go and be a first round draft pick, right? Be one of BB's guys. I mean, one of BB's guys, or simply just get drafted. So, look, some of the things, and I have no problem with him going. I hope that the kid does well. I hope Caden Green. I hope Missouri does well. That's great, right?
Well,
So
other than a couple of Saturdays,
yeah,
sure.
other than a couple of Saturdays, right? But
yeah. I mean, if they're playing Texas, yeah, sure. I mean,
yeah,
but
for sure.
maybe
But
if they're playing Bama or Georgia, okay, maybe. But
yeah,
the rest of the year, I don't have a problem with them perhaps falling on their face a little bit. But
no, exactly. But I guess where I'm just getting at is that, some of the things that he said, it just was like, what? Like, you're going up there to build what? You're going up there to do what? Like, when's the last time they put an offensive lineman in the draft? Maybe somebody can correct me. I'm sure somebody can.
I think they had a 3rd or 4th round pick this year. One guy.
There you go.
I don't one guy, but I don't think they've been exactly putting there. I mean, so obviously Bill is who he is, right? Where he's not going to change who he is, and we know young people see through inauthentic, when you're not being authentic, young people they read right through that, right? Like, okay, young people see through the kind of, if you're BSing them, young people see through that, right? At least that's my experience. So Bill's who he is. And I think, I think maybe he just thought he just had a better time at Missouri, and Missouri pushed. Maybe they found the right buttons to push. You sometimes just get out recruited for reasons that sometimes make no sense. Like, I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine here, and like Robert Meacham was supposed to be a Sooner, right? Sooner. But Bob Stoops held back his recruiting press conference to include Robert Meacham, and then Robert Meacham, went to visit Tennessee one day on a midweek visit, and then chose them. So, we can all talk about maybe why that happened back in the old SEC dollar symbol for the S days. But sometimes you just lose recruiting. It's like, I didn't think OU was going to lose Max Granville to Penn State, but they pitched the whole Chop Robinson, Parsons, edge rusher role to him, and he bought that. So I don't know how you buy their head coach, because he loses every important game he plays. Franklin is like, Mr. Nothing succeeds like failure a little bit with him. But yeah, so it's sometimes the problem is that it's a little bit of the Charlie Brown syndrome, right? It's, to use an old reference, lost perhaps on some of our younger viewers, it's the old Peanuts cartoon. Charlie Brown's going to run and kick the football, and Lucy says, "I won't pull it away this time." And then, so we got told that we were in the lead, and then, come Thursday, things flipped, and he chose Missouri on Saturday. Again, if this was a DB, we'd be like, no big deal, right? If this was a wide receiver we were losing, again, we'd be like, yeah, what's the big deal? If it was a defensive tackle, we'd sort of be like, well, Bates will get us another guy who's better, so no big deal. It's just Bill's had recruiting struggles hitting the numbers. He had, he signed 2 guys in back-to-back years. We can blame part of that on Lincoln and some of the transitions, and you can decide among yourselves how much of that is Bill's fault, okay, and how much of it is of the other factors. So I'll leave that to everybody to decide, their own in their own mind. But OU fans are just so sensitive about O-line recruiting that they're just not quite ready to hear. Well, we just lost the recruiting battle. It was a bad beat. We lost it at the end, and these things happen. So
are we sensitive as fans, or do we just expect more because we know the type of job that Beatonbow does? And I think Beatonbow's not getting all the he gets credit, but I don't think he gets all the credit that he deserves for the previous class that he brought in, because he brought in guys. And so I think that we may be seeing kind of that Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield effect, where we're Sam Bradford effect, where we're just greedy at that position because we know what our coach can do at that position as far as getting us top of the line prospects that give us top of the line products that turn into first round draft picks that we can brag about later, right?
Yeah, and it's also Missouri's not a blue blood. Like, we don't understand how we're losing recruiting battles to Missouri, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different recruiting world out there. Tennessee is probably going to flip a top linebacker from Georgia, which seems like ridiculous, right? Why would you go to Tennessee if you're verbal to Georgia? I mean, right? I mean, at linebacker especially. So it's a weird little world out there, and it's part of it just doesn't understand why. Well, why wouldn't you want to be developed by Bill and be a first round draft pick and pocket 3 NFL offensive line contracts and pocket $200 million? It's just why can't you see that? And it's just it's at some level the kids just they choose where they want to go. Now, is this battle over? A lot of people say no. We'll see. I don't think Missouri has the kind of rule that Brent has. Brent's like, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to take any official. No more officials, no more unofficials.
So you wouldn't be surprised if he showed up on campus for maybe an official visit, or even just showed up on his own dime for a game.
Well, he's already been on official visits, but is he going to show up in Austin for a game? Will he show up in Norman for a game? Both are easy driving distance for him. He has teammates interested in both schools. I think it's very possible he could show up at one of the two campuses, depending upon what happens with the next couple of guys. So
I got you.
We could jump ahead to the next name. Which
before we get to him, I'm sorry, but before we get to him, I do see the comment. Student Cowboys, he's saying, "Hey, I already got Foji in the fold," and it seems like Foji has made a little bit of news himself recently. I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that as well.
Well, obviously he's okay. So Foji is a little bit like Bill found Foji, offered Foji. He camped, very raw. Bill is like, well, this guy's got all the tools. I'm going to offer him, and I'll fix, and I can teach. He has the measurables that I can't coach, and I'll coach up the rest, right?
Yeah.
So then Foji, goes from 6'6", 6'4", 275 to like 6'5", 6'6", 295, in between the time he camps and the end of his junior year. So he's now, everyone sees him at camp events, and he looks fantastic. He's got the wingspan, he's got the foot speed, he's got the size. So yeah, he's vaulting up the rankings. The only outlier really on his rankings right now is Rivals. The rest of everybody else is viewing him and like, whoa, that guy's like a top 50, top 75 player in the country. So Foji is probably, I have to double check on the different sites. I think I checked On3 a moment ago. He's our number one recruit on On3. So he's the highest rated guy on On3 and one of the highest on the composites.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, with Foji, Bill has basically proven his scouting skills, his evaluation skills, and gotten a guy before the rest of college football really knew what's going on. And Foji's very much dedicated to being coached by Bill, sees that whole path of, okay, he's going to develop me into the best possible version of me. And I think Lamont just is not buying that message. And from our standpoint as fans, we're kind of like, dude, how do you not see that? Like, how do you not see that, because the Texas guy doesn't really have, Kelvin Banks might be a high top draft pick, but he was a 5-star out of high school. Everyone's been sort of projecting that ever since he was, in that class. So, I think, I don't know that the Missouri guy has those kind of development, credentials. So, yeah, I think it just OU fans, and I understand it a little bit like, well, we can see it. Why can't you see it? So, we had the same, it's a little bit of the same situation. It's not the NIL situation with DJ Hicks, right? But it's a little bit like the same thing, right? Oh, he's going to OU, and then like the day of, he flips and goes to A&M, and we're all like, well, why can't you see that you should be coached by Todd Bates and see that A&M's a disaster show and nothing good happens there? right?
Yeah.
And then he chooses A&M, and you're just like, well, how did this happen to us? It's a little bit of the similar thing. It's just, Bill has been productive in the portal. So sometimes our fans overreact to the portal aspect of this. It's just another channel for talent acquisition. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
So they overreact to that, and Bill's done a good job for the most part with the talent from the portal.
I mean, I believe that Beaton Bow is good. Definitely want to bring up Foji and give him some love because I feel like we haven't we haven't talked enough about him. But we can go ahead and transition to the next topic as well. But I mean, obviously it's Fasusi. You got Jimmy Satterfield. Shout out to Jimmy. He says if Beaton Bow gets Fasusi, all is well. Then you got Sooner Cowboys out here. He's saying, hey, yeah, trying not to get too excited, but I think OU gets Fasusi. So, I guess the question is, and we could segue into Babalola as well. How do you feel about us with those two right now, where we stand?
So Fasusi is announcing something on Friday. I don't think he's announcing a commitment.
Okay.
I think he's announcing when he's announcing when he will announce, right? We're getting an announcement, a pre-engagement engagement. So I think we'll get that, and we'll get like a top 4 list, which probably will be OU, Texas, A&M, and maybe Oregon, and with OU and Texas being the real players there. So I think we'll get that Friday.
Gotcha.
And then I think right now the rumblings are that Texas is starting to worry that they are losing Fasusi to OU, and they're losing that battle. Now, will they try and win that battle with a huge NIL offer over the top? I don't know. But if you're OU, and you've grabbed a lead with Fasusi, I'm pretty much matching whatever Texas offers, because if I can get my second offensive tackle in the class, take care of the real gap on the roster from a projecting 3 years out kind of vision, which is offensive tackle, when you view almost the entire roster with a slight vision towards tight end as well, but you only play 1 or 2 tight ends. You need more tackles than tight ends generally on the roster. So if you look at the rest of the roster with them getting Afalava and what they did last year in interior offensive line recruiting, tackle's the only spot that's weak. And if Akin-Kimi can transition to tackle, you might even have an argument there. But regardless, you need a second tackle in this class. Fasusi gives you that. He's probably the most ready of them. Gabe Eichert had a review of Fasusi talking about mainly some technical stuff Fasusi needs to work on, or the stuff Bill excels at, and from a development standpoint. So I think, Chris, as long as that decision is in the next couple of weeks, like he says on Friday, I'm going to commit on, July 27th or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If he says something like that, then I would say, yeah, maybe this is trending towards OU being able to close on Fasusi and win this recruiting battle. But if he says something like August 25th, I'm going to announce on August 25th, my first home game or something like that. That's where I'm like, throw out everything. This is 6 weeks work of machinations, and who knows what can happen. But if it's in July, right now, as of Wednesday night, I think OU is making a move on Fasusi, and I think, unlike Lamont Rogers, I think Fasusi, whereas I thought the people around Rogers wanted him in Norman, and I think Rogers just decided he wanted to do something different. I think Fasusi wants to be coached by Bill, and the question is going to be the folks around him.
Okay,
so I think it's going to be a reverse situation.
Got you.
And Fasusi's family has visited OU several times with him. They've made that connection, so I think the family is probably on board with it. It's just You know, Chris, it's so hard, and all of a sudden you keep hearing, well, it's like the brothers, uncles, cousins, you know, step uncle is running things, and you're like, well, why isn't the kid running things, right? It's his life. Why isn't he running it? But you know, so other than some agent things, I think if he announces on Friday, hey, I'm down to a Final Four, OU's in it, and I'm going to be announcing my commitment date in 2 weeks. I think, you know, Bagman, Lamont's mom loved OU. She wanted. That's what I'm talking about. The people around Lamont wanted him in Norman, I feel, but he himself wanted to go to Missouri, and they let him make that decision. So a lot of times we see that flipped around. But I think with Fasusi, he, you know, just his comments, his social media posts, we have a lot more content from Fasusi than Rogers, right?
Yeah.
Or Babalola or Haywood. Fasusi's a lot more gregarious, just posting more stuff. So I think Fasusi wants to be coached by Bill. He trusts Bill. And the question is, are the folks around him gonna sign off on that? Or are they going to be basically like, no, we want to get the biggest package, and we trust the Texas guy to develop him. And that's where I think OU, in my opinion, should step up and just say, yeah, we're not getting outbid.
No, I got you.
This is a circumstance. This is a situation where this fits what we need. This takes care of the roster need. This means we're not going to be in the portal 2 years from now trying to spend even more money trying to pick up more tackles from the portal, because
trying to pay that Lance Hurd money, right?
Yeah, pay that. You know, rather pay the Fasusi money, not the Lance Hurd money. So get more out of him and develop the right way, because you never know what you're buying, right? With Lance Hurd, I mean, everyone's like, oh, he's gonna be so great at Tennessee, and we could see up front that, whoa, man, that guy's just that's not what we thought, right? He's not getting developed. I mean, I don't know who Tennessee's O-line coach is. He could be great. I don't know. So I think that's where the Fasusi thing is. But but Chris, if he says, August 25th, I'm like,
I got you.
Put your hands in the air and just say, just wait 6 weeks, guys. Because I have no clue what that means. But if something's going to happen soon, the trend line is that Fasusi had a great OU visit.
Okay.
And his Texas official visit was just kind of meh.
Which a lot of them are. You can, you put all the Lambos that you want. We trying to get to the league, baby. Hey, but that's the let me hit this comment real quick. So Bagman, he said Texas, Michigan, Georgia, and Alabama built their O-line through high school recruiting, not the portal. Continuity on the O-line is important. We don't get that portal fishing every year. I don't think you portal fish every year, but hey.
Well, that's just, first off, Bagman, you're wrong. Michigan's O-line last year that won the national championship started 3 or 4 portal players on it.
Yeah.
So that's just
it's
wrong.
It's the nature of the game right now.
That's just wrong.
But he doesn't.
This is the first year we've ever talked about Texas having a good O-line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the OU defense knocked them around. So Alabama and Georgia, again, they're outliers for just about everything. I mean, they are. When you have the talent they have in their states and you've been winning like they've been winning, it's just different. I mean, it is. So,
but I think Beaton Bow, even with the portal talk, Beaton Bow uses it as kind of a Band-Aid at times, just to maybe patch over something, maybe to just, hey, let me put this here real quick while I heal it and get everything else right with the guys that he's actually developing. You get what I'm saying? So I don't have any problem with that on the O-line per se.
Well, I want OU start signing 5 high school offensive linemen every class.
Yeah.
I want them only going to the portal if somebody goes to the NFL unexpectedly in your development path and you need to buy a year for your internal guys to get better, right? And that's, losing Guyton and losing Anton Harrison is part of the reason why we've been back in the portal, right? It just is. And, Marquise Hayes and Tyrese Robinson, not great offensive linemen, but if they had come back in 2022 for Brent's first year, you're not going to the portal you're not starting a portal offensive lineman. You'd have had both those guys at guard.
With Smitty.
And you'd had Rame, and you went to the portal in spring because you had your center blew his knee out, right? Your starting center blew his knee out first week of practice. I can tell you almost every college football program in America, they lose their starting center to injury the first week in spring. They're going to be in the portal after spring looking for help. That's just a reality. No one has offensive line depth. Bama's going to probably be starting Caden Proctor, who was at Iowa, through the entire spring practice. So, I think that's, OU needs to start signing 5 guys. They got to give Bill the bodies, and Bill's development process will get you starters and get you productive players. So, but they got to sign 5 guys every pretty much every class. That's what they're looking at, and that's the problem. We're at 3, and I don't know if they can get Fasusi. That's 4, but honestly, I don't know who the 5th could be.
Is it Babalola? Let's go ahead and segue into that.
It could be, but because I don't think he's Mr. NIL, and I think he's made some connections with OU, and OU's got a good chance with him. But he's also looking at Stanford and Michigan, which are probably the 2 programs that are pitching the academic side of things. Obviously, Stanford is pitching the academic side because they were terrible last year, so they don't have anything on the football side to pitch.
Yeah.
But that might appeal to certain parents, and I understand that. It's like Bill's, Brent's trying to pitch life after football and make sure you get your degree, which softens a little bit of his counter arguments to places like Stanford, right? Like, okay, well, shouldn't I then just go to Stanford and get my better degree? Yeah, maybe. But I think they'll, if they can get Fasusi, then they'll start the process this fall of trying to find another guy to complete the class, get a 5th offensive lineman, get some offers out there, get some people to officially visit, and get your 5th guy that way. I don't think. I mean, Chris, I'd love for us to be going live in a show where we're talking about Fasusi and Babalola finishing this class. It just doesn't seem realistic. So I think probably it's Fasusi. The real concern I'm having at this point is, there's a path to OU going 0 for 4, right? Ty Haywood didn't visit. Rogers is with Missouri. Texas, who's having a weird recruiting season with some very bad luck.
All the way around.
Every position.
Texas 360.
Yeah. Wide receiver, DB, D-line, you name it. They are having problems and losing guys. Oregon is, Bevo should be running. If they play Oregon, Bevo should run over the Oregon Duck based upon what Lanning's doing to Sarkisian in recruiting. It's just so Texas, just needs a big win in the worst way, right? So they just go all out with every connection they have to get Fasusi. And then Babalola just says, well, I'm going to go to Stanford and get the big degree. And all of a sudden, OU is left holding the bag. There are still 3 offensive linemen. Need to pick up 2 offensive linemen this fall. Maybe they could try and flip Rogers. I don't know, but that's the only problem right now is there's a path to losing the Fasusi recruiting, and there's a path to losing the Babalola recruiting. They're just very clear. Fasusi rolls back to the previous favorite of Texas, and they throw a massive NIL package. Plus, Chris, it used to be like the biggest thing was, come to Texas and Texas alums will take care of you, right? Like you'll never want for a job, right? Your family will never want for stuff.
Yeah.
Right. That used to be like the unofficial Texas recruiting pitch, right? It used to be that used to be Mac Brown's kind of, well, we don't cheat, but our alums are going to take care of all of our players after they graduate. That used to be sort of their pitch.
Yeah.
Well, you don't cheat like the SEC does. Well, okay. Well, you're certainly suggesting that you do, but
I feel like, so not necessarily what I feel, but I do think that the question that needs to be answered is simply just right here, which you kind of see that slow heel turn, and a lot of people trying to turn on him already. But if Beatonbow misses on one more, are you upset with the recruiting effort? Do you apply to him for what you have in Afalava, Foji? I know I'm probably forgetting another O-line commit that we have in there.
Hollenbeck.
Yeah, Hollenbeck. So are you upset with that? Because I mean, you just need 2 more to finish out the 5 that you're saying. But would you be pleased if you at least hit on one of these last 2 kids or these big targets that we're looking at? Because you already know they're going to double back for somebody else and they're going to pick up some more kids. But I guess the question is should OU fans still be patient for this huge major 5-star class that we could get as far as the offensive line, or should OU fans feel a little bit pessimistic going forward about Beatonbow still, even though you know what he can produce on the field?
So at some point, Chris, it has to be. The issue I have is that they didn't bring in 2 backup offensive line targets in June.
Yeah.
Right. Didn't offer 2 guys, bring them in for official visits and establish them as sort of your backup plans. And if you got one of them, so be it. That's fine, right? One of them verbal, that's fine. You've got another verbal commitment at O-line. That's not a big deal. And maybe it puts a little pressure on some of the 5-stars. Or if you get 2 of the 5-stars, you take 6 offensive linemen. And as I said, you just make that work. So I'm a little confused as to why we didn't see that strategy. It's just a strategy more than anything else, is that it's so competitive for these 4 guys. You're fighting the best programs in the country, or fighting Missouri at least. You fortunately Ohio State's not involved. So with any of these guys, because that would be that's probably a loss right now with the way Ohio State's recruiting. Yeah, to me it's more, the way I look at it, Chris, is the problem is not recruiting and signing the Josh Iasosas and the Isaiah Autreys to use 2 guys who were on campus developing, and all the feedback is very positive, right? It's not, everyone's like, oh, those are 3-star guys. Okay, well, Bill can turn 3-star guys into, Bill can develop guys. That's not a problem. The problem is there's not enough of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concern, is that you go 0 for 4 with these elite kids. You have to double back. You're having to double back. And rather than doubling back, shouldn't we just rather have some names already in the forefront?
Yeah. Which I'm sure that you do. I think this
I can't. There's not a single name offer out there. If they
I don't know if there's an offer, but I think there's relationships probably at least.
There are. But the question is, a lot of those kids are verbal elsewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you flip them? Which is a harder recruiting win than just signing a kid, getting a kid who's uncommitted, right? We know I refer to flipping a kid sometimes as like tipping over a Coke machine. It's a really bad analogy, but that's the one we use. You got to rock it back. A whole bunch of times before you can. So, like Blake Cherry from Owasso, he's verbal to Arkansas. He's a good, looks really good on film. Right tackle, could be an interior player as well. So he has some positional flexibility for OU. Mm-hmm. Why haven't you offered him already to make sure that you are in a stronger position if you need to come back to him and offer him? Now, he may want to stick with Arkansas and stick with Pittman, and maybe that changes if Pittman gets fired, but that's like December. That's much later in recruiting. So I just wish there had been some backup plans
already in place.
Because if I'm making a recruiting prediction right now, Chris, there's like 5 spots left. that OU needs to fill. Let's say they got 5 spots left. And I'd say, well, OU needs 2 offensive linemen. Well, if they don't get Fasusi or Babalola, I'm back to, unknown name.
Yeah.
Whereas at defensive end, I could say K. Pietrek. Defensive tackle, I could say Floyd Boucard. At linebacker, I can at least say Christian Jones. At offensive line, if they go 0 for 4 right now, I've got no names. So I'd have liked to hear, OU's making offers. You see traffic going out. I would like to have heard this last week a couple of offers to some offensive linemen to show that OU's, because with the whole, Chris, because the whole don't take any more visits once you're committed to us thing allows OU to offer kids and kind of, I don't want to say string them along, but slow play them a little bit, right?
Yeah, I got you. Well, that's our offensive line spiel for tonight, guys. Let's go ahead and go to a kid that did commit to us last Saturday.
Yeah, the good news.
Yeah, we'll talk about him briefly before we move on to our last topic. But Omarion Robinson, 4-star kid out of Little Rock, Arkansas, right? Talk to where's he from in Arkansas?
That's a good question.
I thought he was from
Is it Little Rock? Is it Little Rock area?
I swear I saw something on there about Little Rock. Let me see. Yeah, Little Rock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, with that being said, just kind of just enlighten everybody. What are we getting in that kid? I'm hearing that he's a dude. I'm hearing that he SEC. That's all I got to say. What are we getting with this kid?
Well, the first thing to factor in is UGA badly wanted him. Okay, and UGA is, they're the benchmark of college football defense right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted him as badly as they wanted any of the 4 or 5-star guys at safety that they've been targeting and trying to recruit. Trey McNutt, just any of the big time names that are out there. So LSU wanted him, and Oregon wanted him, and Oregon's doing major safety recruiting as well. So OU beat the powers in college football for him, or at least recruiting powers. LSU, obviously, they can flash DBU at anybody. So that's who they beat for him. I love this kid on film. Chris, when you look at his first couple of highlights, it's all punt returns and kickoff returns. And he is accelerating and flying by people. So he's got speed. He has athleticism. He has those sudden burst acceleration skills you're looking for. And then he plays wide receiver for his high school as well. And he's burning DBs deep. He's making big plays. And then you see him at safety finally. And Chris, he can play a true center field deep safety. Like a lot of times when you see the best safeties in the country and you watch their film, they're all at the line of scrimmage and they're basically like blitzing safeties. And that's all of their big plays. His big plays are all in coverage or in run support from being a deep safety. There's a great play where he just levels a running back and he's a good 10 yards away off the line, and he, pursues, takes the right angle, levels a running back, and basically turns a running play that looks like it's going for about 15, 20 yards to just 5 yards, which is what your safeties need to do, right?
I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just going to ask. So where does he play on his defense? Is he a cheetah, like a Kendall Dobie? Is he a straight up safety,
straight up safety? Would sort of in the Billy Bowman, probably in the Billy Bowman kind of role. It's free and strong. Brent moves his safeties around so much and has a third safety. Sometimes that with the cheetah, it's a little unconventional, and sometimes the terminology, it just does. Sometimes they're so interchangeable, it doesn't really. It's not like traditional football. Free safety, strong safety kind of stuff, but he's a coverage safety. He can do run support, but there's just Chris, it's just the plays that have been just driving OU fans for years before Valai and Hall took over, it used to be like the deep passing plays, right? And it'd always be like a ball's hanging up there, and we're like, where's our safety over the top to pick this, off, right? Where's the safety over the top? And you never see them. This is what he does, right? He pursues, reads it, cuts in front of wide receivers on deep passes, and either deflects it or picks it off. And he has excellent ball skills, again, at wide receiver, making tough catches. And those ball skills will just translate to safety, into interceptions. He's an excellent athlete, excellent defender. And you love watching guys that, do everything for their high school team, right? Best guy on his high school team doing everything for him. Not just, he's not just some diva wide receiver who's like, I'm just going to sit here and, get mine and not worry about what's going on. He's returning kicks, punts, safety, wide receiver. I'm sure he played quarterback for them if he needs to.
He's the water boy too.
Could be. I mean, it's just his film is excellent. And again, somebody sent me something about the on 3 didn't really change his rating, and they said, well, we just don't think he's very fast. And I'm like, what film are you watching? I mean, he's making all these long plays. How can you say he doesn't have any long speed, right? Can you say he doesn't have real speed? When you take a touchdown pass, when you take a reception, 90 yards, and you're just blazing past the DB, you've got some speed. I mean, and with those punt returns and kickoff returns,
and the caliber athlete he's playing too. No, I think the kid has a chance, and I think Sooner fans. I know we're down in the dumps about not getting Lamont Rogers, but I think we need to be really, really be excited about this kid because he's yet again another outstanding addition to that DB room that's already really deep. If you can't tell,
Did you see the Twitter posts of Bowman and Robert Spears Jennings and all those guys working out? I mean, the safety room looks. I mean,
they look the part.
They look. If you could tell anything from any football performance from just an image on Twitter, you're like, well, those dudes look like safeties.
Yeah.
Like guys we haven't had before. And Robinson continues that. Marcus Wimberly, the other safety from Arkansas we got, is a bigger guy. He's 6'1", 200, maybe 205, very physical. So the combination of the two just fit perfectly with what Brent wants to do and what OU's defense needs. I mean, if Jaden Hardy was one of the top guys they got last year, and if you want to say Robinson's taller, bigger, and I think faster than Hardy, but they have very similar playmaking abilities, coverage abilities. So that's what OU's getting. This is
and to me, I think that's high praise. I like Hardy a lot.
I did too. I mean, he did everything, but Hardy's like 5'11", about 180, and I think Robinson's closer to like 6 foot, and he's going to be closer to 190, 195 by the time he puts on good college weight. So I love this pickup, but the DB guys, Hall and Valai, have just been killing it,
Yeah.
And they've been killing it for the last couple of classes, and the development is going really well. So
to close this out, I'll let you go, but go ahead and tell us about the 2026. Any prospects we should be on the lookout for, and then obviously, what do you say, the Under the Stars event?
Yeah. So just real quick, by the way, it looks like Floyd Boucard might be turning OU's way in that USC and Miami recruiting battle. So that's the big defensive tackle. So that might be slowly moving OU's way, which would be a huge deal. So, so OU's has a junior day event at the end of July. Oregon has one as well. And the two guys who are already confirmed for the event via social media, the first one is Brandon Arrington. He's a wide receiver athlete from California. And he's the number 20 player in the nation, according to On3. 6 foot, 180. I've watched his film. He's a blur. He's a wide receiver. It looks really good. And then the next guy is a defensive tackle. He's a 3 tech. He's probably about 6'3", 270. right now, and he's obviously coming up for his junior year. He was playing football in Georgia. Now he's at Bishop Gorman, and he's the number 41 player in the nation. So, I mean, a lot more names will get added, but right off the bat, Chris, for this event, OU has 2 guys from sort of the West Coast area. One who's the number 20. He's the highest number 7 on On3 and ESPN as the number 7 player in the nation. And then this other guy, Carrington, is as high as 25 in the nation on Rivals. So you're talking 2 of the top 50 players in the nation from the sort of the left coast, West Coast area are going to be in Norman for this Junior Day event. And that's just started in terms of the names that are going to be there. I imagine Jaden O'Neal will be ringleading the entire event.
I'm really excited about that. I know the 26 class could potentially be really, really special. Definitely going out there to get you some more Cali Sooners or the West Coast Sooners, right? So you're really excited about that. Well, I was going to say, I'm really excited about this event. Now, you just got me lit for this event. So, no, is there anybody else that you think could potentially pop on the scene for this event? Is there anything else? Because this is kind of like a Future Freaks type of event. It
is. I think there's a good chance we'll probably see Taj Overton from from Owasso, Caden Jones from Jenks, Mason James from Norman. I think we'll see some of the offensive linemen that camped this summer at OU that got offers that OU's heavily recruiting. Players like possibly Drew Evers, Noah Best. I think some of the defensive line guys you might see there are possibly Danny Beal from Arkansas coming over. He's a top 75 big defensive tackle, 6'5", 310. So really, Chris, it's going to be my job on my podcast. I got to start educating everybody on the new names to follow because we're running out of names for 25, but it's the new names for 26 are going to be apparent. Isaiah Williams is a safety from Houston they really like. There's probably Zach Turner as a wide receiver tight end from Duncanville who seems to be really high on OU. I'd imagine there's a good chance he'll be there. I think we're talking maybe 20, 25 offers, OU offers. So sort of top 200, top 300 players in the nation, at this event. And you're going to have, Jonathan Hatton and Ryder Mix from Texas will probably be there as well. The 3 verbals will be there. But the fascinating thing is Lincoln Riley's just getting obliterated in media lately. And their recruiting has taken a massive hit. So if you were OU, tactically speaking or strategically speaking, 26 might be a time to push things in Cali a little bit.
Oh, because, yeah. I definitely think it is. It seems – and guys, we're not going to get on the whole Tebow spiel and all the rest of that stuff. But where we're at, I think it is okay to say that.
Well, USC looks weak.
No, that's what I'm saying. USC looks weak, but it also looks like that Raleigh effect is happening up there, meaning that is he having bad relationships? Is he destroying connections or places that they usually would get kids like he did here in Oklahoma? I know people want to knock Oklahoma and say Oklahoma's not a hotbed, but if you've seen it the past couple of years, Oklahoma's got a lot of talent in the state, right? So the whole thing is that same thing going on? Is that the narrative? I don't know. USC and Texas recruiting are about the same right now for different reasons, obviously. But I know it's July, but at least for USC, they have a lot to worry about. Your diamond quarterback, your quarterback for your 26 class is heavily flirting with Colorado and other schools. Everybody's in the comments say, he's going to
he's reclassified to 25. So
yeah. Oh, yeah, the 25. Yeah, exactly. So and I mean, you hear people say, he's going to go to Auburn. He's going to go here. He's going to go there. I'm just like, man, I don't know. But I don't know.
You lose him, and it's like, what do we – I mean, they've got some other guys. They've got some decent recruits. But the big problem is you say it's July, so why are you freaking out? It's July. The powers in recruiting all have 20 guys. I mean, Georgia, Bama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, most of those programs, they're finishing up, not having to recruit half their class.
Yeah. And most of them are because obviously August and September are big months just to go ahead and at least get those hard commits, those hard verbals, and then
I mean, we're talking if there was an end of July signing day, that they've talked about things like that, end of June or end of July, an earlier signing day, or an August 15th signing day. OU would probably sign 23 kids, and Texas right now is looking at signing like 11. I don't know what's happened, because they're coming off their best year in 15 years and college football playoff spot. So it's very odd.
It's connections. I think you can go out there and get the NFL guys, but if NFL guys don't come in here and know these coaches, you can flash that, this is what I did for this player. I coached, such and such on this defensive line for the Atlanta Falcons, or I coached old boy up there who was with the Rams or whatnot. That's all fine and dandy, but it's like when I was in the process of going to law school, everybody would tell me how hard it was. When I got to law school, the 3 L's would tell me, hey, how hard it was. And I was like, hey man, I was like, I don't care. I'm sorry, respectfully, I don't care about your story. Give me an outline so I'll know exactly what to do in this class. So I'll know how to get there where you're at right now, which is on the brink of graduation, right? So I don't know, but
it's strange. You understand Lincoln Riley. Stupidly pulling all these Georgia defensive linemen and hotboxing them and forcing them to give them verbal commitments, right? You're like, that's not going to last. It's like silly, like, okay, whatever, dude. So they lose all those guys that way. But Texas, it's a strange phenomenon, and I'm telling you, if they lose Fasusi to OU, the meltdown over there is going to be. It's going to be the spinal tap. It goes all the way to 11. It's going to be
maybe it's the Jimbo curse. You don't give a coach a 10-year contract, guys, because obviously you saw what happened to old boy up there at Michigan State. You saw what happened to Jimbo, and they paid that off already. Those 10-year contracts, don't do that. It's a curse.
Don't compete against yourself, right? don't out. In negotiation, don't compete against yourself. When someone says, "Yeah, we'll sell it to you for $500," and say, "Oh no, I'll give you $700," and that seems like a little bit of what athletic directors don't quite realize. But it's going to be an interesting. We'll see. Like I said, Chris, we got news Friday from Fasusi one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Boucard is on the 20th. He's announcing his commitment. That could go OU's way, which would be a huge commit. Something from Cade Pietrek soon. I don't know about Christian Jones, but I think OU's definitely trying to push him to be the linebacker in the class. So that's what's going on there. But 26 is coming, so we'll be talking more and more about some of those big names. And they just offered a 5-star cornerback from California yesterday. So OU. His name is Sermons. It is R.J. Sermons from Rancho Cucamonga. And he is the number 15 player in the nation, according to On3. 6'1", 6'2", cornerback, speed. So OU obviously offered him for a reason. They don't.
Talk to me.
they're obviously offering him for a reason. So we'll see what goes on. But if the names start building for this end of event in July, it could get real interesting. Because, like I said, I think there's about 5 or 6 guys who could jump in the fold for 26 fairly quickly.
Yeah. So with that being said, people, we've been on here for about 54 minutes. We went a little bit over to what we said, but that is perfectly fine because I love talking football and I love talking recruiting now. That's something. Like I said, we definitely want to try to add that to the show. But as always, Mr. Mason, go ahead, tell everybody where they can find all your content again. And people, he doesn't need to repeat himself. It's all in the bio. Just go and click and follow the links, and you will find everything that you want.
The best way to just get everything is to follow me on Twitter and X at CM_Sooners360. You'll get all of I publish all the links to the podcasts and videos that we do and all the Patreon content.
Yeah. Sooners 360, guys, we're pushing that content, right? So we got that all up in the bio and everything and stuff like that. So definitely go and support, go and show Mr. Mason all the love. Like, subscribe, share all the content from this video, his channel with his videos and all the rest of that. He's on YouTube as well, a friend of the show, and definitely look forward to doing this again for sure. But man, with that being said, it's another episode of the Horn Downs podcast, and that we're out.